What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sports Scoop. And today I'm going to be bringing you my reaction to a preseason game between the Miami Dolphins and the Chicago Bears. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First thing I want to let you guys know is if you don't care about preseason, that makes sense. It really means nothing in terms of how well your team is going to do. It's more of a challenge for the players that may or may not be on the roster. So if you want to pay attention to a particular player that might be on the fringe, that is your time to watch those guys. The other thing that I really treasure about preseason is that the players that are going to be in the team, if you're injury-ridden, are playing in these third and fourth quarters. So you might not want to dismiss it as these are the third strings. It might be these are the guys that are going to bail us out if your guys are injured. So going into the Miami Dolphins versus Chicago Bears game. The Miami Dolphins went up to a 13-0 lead with an impressive throw by Jacoby Brissett to Salvin Ahmed and 2 field goals from inside the red zone for Jason Sanders. And 1 courtesy interception from my Tua Tagovailoa. But apart from that, and I don't want to stay overly positive because the interception was not something to treasure for Tua Tagovailoa, but he did look very promising throwing the ball down the field. A great throw to Gesicki in the first quarter, and a couple great throws to Mac Hollins, who he looks to have an even better connection with than almost everyone else on this offense, other than maybe Mike Gesicki and Jalen Waddle. Speaking of Waddle, he was very influential in the return game this season, this first quarter, sorry. Well, anyway, Dolphins got out to an early 13-0 lead. It was a good game for them to start, but they put in their subs, as we know. That's what they do when they go into the half, 13-3, as right before the final zeros on the second half, the Bears kicked a field goal. In the second half, Justin Fields entered the game for the Chicago Bears, and he made an ultimate impact. He came in the first drive for Chicago, and he ran in for a 10-yard touchdown. There was a holding call, but it was on the defense, and the touchdown counted. It was a 10-yard run. He went through a couple defenders, and he looks like a seasoned NFL quarterback. That's what I'd say about him. He doesn't look like he's having any trouble. He made a really great throw that was dropped early, and he made another great throw that was caught by a receiver that I honestly don't remember his name. He's not going to make the roster, I wouldn't believe. But anyway, then later into the game, Nick Needham and Justin Coleman as cornerbacks lost their men 2 times each. Not a good look. Noah Benagade was able to bail others out, but it was not a good look for the Miami Dolphins defense. But in terms of Justin Fields, this is what I really want to touch on. Justin Fields looked seasoned, as I just said, but he looked fast. And I know that's everyone's look at him from the draft, but I'm not even saying quick, I'm not saying elusive, I'm saying fast. He looks like he can get into the field of play and run at defenders and not fear that he's going to be hit and get sacked. He looks big, strong, and fast. So that's something to look out for defenses, because there are some rookie quarterbacks like Kyler Murray in his rookie year. He was sliding when he was getting hit. Same with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson even got pulled out of the running game for almost the whole season last year because the coaches were worried about getting injured. So for me, it was very important to see that Justin Fields, who I actually had as my QB2 going into the NFL draft. If you watch any of our draft content, you'll know I'm very high on this guy. I think he's the future of the Chicago Bears. He was able to run at defenders and not fear for injury, which honestly in preseason might seem problematic, but this is a good sign for Chicago Bears fans because you could see he doesn't fear contact. Something else about the Chicago Bears, and for me, it's obviously preseason, so it doesn't really talk too much as they're playing against the fourth strings, third strings, fourth strings. And again, this could be the injury-ridden players they'll play against, and they were the third and fourth string. So in the depth game, they were able to come back from down 13-0. So it speaks to the level that the first team of Miami has to the third team of Miami, but it speaks to the level that the third team of Chicago is able to put up with the consistency that the Miami team has. And I've been following Miami all throughout training camp, and the third guys have always looked relatively good, even in the joint practices. You've seen good plays by guys like Kirk Merritt, Justin Coleman, Nick Needham, who's made his way up to first team now, but he was someone who was always in the third team. So another thing about preseason, you see guys that are third team playing in these preseason games, and later up in the season, later in next season, you see them in the first team. So it's not all unimportant, unrostered players. But anyway, my point being, the Bears were able, when the younger players, when the unimportant, unrostered players are in the game, they went in and they came back from down 13. So a lot of that can be credited to Justin Fields. A lot of that can be credited to the defense not giving up a point in the second half. But overall, the credit goes to the second and third team of the Chicago Bears. Just some things I'd like to point out player-wise. Of course, I've shouted out Justin Fields. I've shouted out, I believe I shouted out Noah Igbenogany for bailing out Justin Coleman and Nick Needham. I would like to make a special recognition statement of Damian Williams, who looks really explosive in his first game back from his opt-out season. So he looked really exciting and fun to watch, honestly, for me. As a former Dolphins fan, as a former Dolphins player, I'm still a Dolphins fan. He really looked like he had his legs still, and he could be someone that challenges Montgomery for snaps this season. Another player I'd like to shout out is Dolphins running back Salvin Ahmed, who got a lot of snaps last year with the injuries to Gaskin and Matt Breida and Jordan Howard. And he was not on the roster at the start of the season, made his way up, and he looks really good. He caught a touchdown from Brissett, which was a great pass and a great running catch. So I think we're going to see a lot out of Salvin Ahmed this season out of the backfield in the passing game. That's really all I have to say about this game. Check back for more content. We're going to have something on the Jets and Giants later today. So, yeah, thanks for watching.